Hey folks, welcome back. Welcome to the first stream of the year. Voice looks good, audio looks good. In-game audio is turned off, and I'll fix that in a moment. As always, I'm Fritz, and we're doing, you guessed it, it's some more historic Brawl. So I actually have two lists today, both of them using the same card. That card is Rusko Clockmaker. Rusko is one of the new historic Brawl commanders we got with the release of Brothers War Alchemy. He's a 2/1 blue, 1 black for a 3/3, but his ability is the important part here. When he enters the battlefield, you conjure a copy of Midnight Clock, untapped, onto the battlefield, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put an hour counter on each permanent you control named Midnight Clock. Each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So if you have paid a fair amount of attention to Historic Brawl, or you play Historic Brawl, you might realize that there is a billion Rusko decks running around right now. Rusko is really, really powerful. So why do I have two lists? Well, I've got two lists because one of them is my Rusko list. It is not very good, but Rusko is a very good commander. So it can do all right. And the second one that I will show after that, just to give you a sense of scale, is that I have a Rusko comp list that I've stolen from the Historic Brawl Discord server. I've made 1 or 2 tweaks to it, so if it loses because of those tweaks, I'll call it out, because that's on me, not them. But we're going to start out by doing a few games with my Rusko list. Now, the downside to Rusko, and we'll cover this a little bit more, but Rusko basically, the better lists are Paradox Engine lists, and that means that it's not impossible that you queue up with Rusko right now, you get into a game, and your opponent sees you're playing Rusko and instantly concedes. So there's that. Rusko's also been out for a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see what is going to end up being our queue opponents. I've played against pretty much everything with him so far, but we'll have to see. It looks like our first game is going to be against the mirror match Rusko. So, Rusko, then the mirror match, I will probably lose. That's because Rusko's a very control-heavy deck, and my version is not super control-heavy. The other funny thing that can happen in the Rusko mirror match is that your opponent concedes because they don't want to play against Rusko. Wish I was joking. But since my version is not the control-heavy list, what I don't have is things like Thoughtseize and a lot of the other useful small acceleration tools. They'll probably get rid of Reject here over anything else. And we'll see how comp this list is. Yeah, so if you wanted a good example of what happens when you play Rusko, that's pretty much it. I'm assuming my opponent looked at that, saw that I had 2 counter spells, and then decided the game was going to take too long to play out. It's kind of stupid, I'll be honest. I had that happen off stream when I was testing some stuff yesterday. I'm just going to make a quick call out here. If you play Rusko into Historic Brawl and you concede the mirror match, you're a bad person. It's that simple. What do we got? Underground River, Hercule's Prodigy, Baleful. I will keep. I don't really have a turn 2 play, so let's go with Swamp. In case I need to crack out the Baleful Mastery on turn 2. I don't think I should, but I will if I have to. Otherwise, we might do I do Hercules or do I do something else? The fact that I don't have the 3rd land is pretty bad. I'm going to hold the Memory Lapse for right now. We'll see if it's going to be Goshintai. No, it's going to be Chromatic Lantern. Back to the deck with you, please. All right, we got that. We're going to do this. Now, better versions of this list are going to be doing a lot of other different stuff. They're going to have, by comp list has 3 creatures relative to the large number that I have in my list, for example. It's got almost all counterspells, cantrips, a fair number of cheap artifacts. That's actually where one of my few enhancements / changes to the deck. Whether or not you actually consider it an enhancement is going to depend on do I do the Prodigy? I don't think I do anything here. I think I just Pass. Oh no, I should have attacked. That was dumb. So what I'm going to do is if they try to cast Goshintai, I don't love letting them have that. Let's do this. Counter target spell, return all land, create a copy, target player draws his card. Turn target online permanent to its owner's hand. That's easy. You. Target a creature you control. Target a player. Now, let's see what they have in response. If they have the hard removal, we're a little hosed. But if they don't, I'll keep the token, actually. That's probably a mistake, but I'm just curious to see what happens here. But yeah, Rusko is really powerful. He is 4 mana, and then you get a 3 mana, like, ramp artifact. And the fact that Midnight Clock comes in untapped is just very good. I have a lot of dead weight in this deck, honestly. So for anybody going, I think this deck is bad, the one that I'm playing, you're not wrong. I just like it. There are much better Rusko lists, and I will be showing one of them off when we get a little bit farther into the game. I would like to have that extra mana to work with. If I do this, I will only have hard removal. I won't have any counter spells. Let's do Witching Well instead. And move that there, move that there. And turn. So the goal usually is you do Paradox Engine and small counter spells. You use small spells to hold off until you can get Paradox Engine. Once you get the Paradox Engine, Vraska's Contempt, you then just untap all your stuff and chain things together to leech your opponent down while refilling the Midnight Clocks pretty much infinitely, and then chaining that into a hand of like 30 cards. It's pretty great. Little cancerous. My dude's phased out. You can't get him. All right. Is that a first strike? Yes, it does. So, getting rid of that. Grab another card. Find the Villain's Lair is quite good. I like that card. Can I do the Prodigy? 2 mana is not enough for Thassa's. We'll just end the turn. Now, it's worth noting that if I cast any spells right now, it'll trigger Midnight Clock. So. Full control. Counter target spell. Submit 1. Probably wondering, why am I doing full control? Well, it's so I can do this. Now you're going, wait, why did you just cast 2 spells from hand? Well, it's because I'm about to get my full hand back, so I may as well just use up all the mana, and then get as much as I can. Because Rusko is a terrifying card. But yeah, this is why a lot of people will just concede if you play this deck right now. Because I want to point out, I am playing a terrible version of this list, but it doesn't matter because Rusko is that good. Also, this is not something you'll see in the other list, but you can Spark double copy him, and now I get 2 stacks onto Midnight Clock each time I do anything. And yes, it is that painful. Also, my opponent loses 2 life each time I cast the non-spell. Let's put that onto you. And now I'm going to get 7 more cards. Probably should not have done that, but doesn't really matter. And draw another card because I can. And end turn. Discard a swamp. And if I cast 3 more spells, I win. So I just need to cast I don't actually have the mana for 3 more spells. Do I? No, I don't. Not yet. But this is the untuned, weak version of this deck. And it is pretty effective. We'll do a couple more games before I switch over, I think, to the comp list. I'll do 2 more games and then I'll switch over to the comp list. I don't want... The stream's only been 10 minutes. Spicy. It's just such a good deck. It's such a good card. Sorry, it's such a good card. I don't want to give the wrong impression here. It's such a good card. My deck is not good. What's good is Rusko. That you can do basically whatever you want with this creature and succeed. But let's do Malakar Meyer. This is a pretty bad opening hand, relatively speaking. Also, cards like this, Illusionist Stratagem, there's a lot more better cards. We'll go over some of the ones, but there's much better cards to flicker Rusko with. Island, pass the turn. It's going to be a little annoying because they're going to have the drop. Do I play Rusko? Turn creature. That's not going to be a creature. If I take the bait, 10-minute of Uber OP card. Rusko's just so good. It's just not even funny. It's just so disgusting. This isn't even the comp list. I have the comp list. The comp list is just a monstrosity. Come on, play Thassa. I'll let you play Thassa. You let me play Rusko. We're all happy. All happy here. I'm actually going to play this and just draw a card here. Pretty bad, but we'll take it anyway. I'd have to go check to see what the general comp community's opinion of Rusko is at the moment. Okay, so here we see one of the nice things about this deck. I now have a copy of Rusko, and because he comes in and gives me that, I can now just play Spell Pierce on the next turn if I want to. Hopefully to get rid of something that would otherwise blow him up. The comp list also has cards like Swan Song, and I can swear I could have sworn there's like one more 1-mana counter spell. Well, that's bad, but we're going to do it anyway. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it does mean that all they get out of this extra turn is a land drop and a card. I swear. Key to the Archive, when my opponent plays it, Time Warp. When I play it, Approach of the Second Sun. Ooh, am I about to get... So they have an infinite combo that they're about to start to try to do. Do I have a way to deal with that? Well, I can make an attempt. Why would you spend all my black mana instead of spending... Let's think about this for a second. I have Baleful Mastery. Do I have any more outs outside of Baleful Mastery? No. So we're gonna... If this fails, I lose. That's it. So the combo here is Shipwreck, Dowser, Thassa, Time Warp. It's that simple. If they counterspell, yep, they counterspelled it. That's game. Yo, what's up, Josh? Welcome to the stream. I just lost this game. Let's do Fairy Seer. So what they'll do is they'll play Thassa. Maybe I get one more turn to try to block this. They play Thassa. Cancel attacks, no attacks, and turn. They play Thassa. They flicker this. They get back the Time Warp. Alternately, they play Time Warp. But yeah, I had one window. Yeah, so they'll play Thassa. They'll use Thassa's ability to bounce Shipwreck Dowser. Then they'll, each time they bounce it, they'll just get Time Warp back. And they'll get infinite turns. It's a bit painful. And I don't have any cards to block it. I think I get one more turn, but they've got so much mana and so many cards that it's likely just game with this one. I'm trying to think if I had an out with this deck list. Warzone Duplicator casts for 3. Is it equal or less? No, it's power less. So Warzone Duplicator doesn't get me out. If they have any counter spell, that's just game. If I had tried to spark double, I think that's just game. I can't think of any clever out. Draw a card. Geegan Cyberclaw Terror. I pretty much just lose, so I'm just gonna play this, and then they get their infinite combo off, and that's game. But because we don't concede on stream, I'm just gonna set it up so I die as quickly as possible. That's 10, that's 14, so it should only take them 2 turns. And also now I can't take any action, so this should go pretty quickly. Oh. I'll do one more game with the non-comp list after this. So the reason I know this combo is because I made a deck that did this. So, and I'm almost positive, yeah. So you can tell that they got this copy of Time Warp off Key to the Archive, because when Key to the Archive generates cards, the set of the card is always going to be Alchemy 22. And the version of Time Warp that was actually printed as a collectible card and not a generated card is going to be the Strixhaven Mystical Archive. But it's a worthless piece of information, but it's useful if you're trying to figure out if your opponent still has. So for example, they could still have an entire extra copy of Time Warp in their deck. We'll do one more game with the non-comp list, and then we'll crack out the competitive one. Rusko's also going to be interesting because unlike Niambi, I don't think that Rusko immediately demands a nerf. Like, not at the level that Niambi did. Niambi's combo was a 2-card, draw 30 cards on turn 3. And Rusko it's just very powerful. And there's a lot of levers you can pull to potentially make him a more balanced card based on how you feel about it. So we'll do one more with this list, and then I'll show you the terrible, terrible, horrible list for bad people. And that's the one that you should copy if you want to win. The Thrawn Empire fell to Phyrexia 5,000 years before... Oh, I didn't get to finish reading the text. Imarath Desert Doom. He's a big dragon that refills your hand when he hits you, and he has ward as long as he's untapped. We have Wash Away. We have Cavalier of Gales. We have Jin-Gitaxias. I will keep. Mostly based on the Wash Away, I think. Jin-Gitaxias, Cavalier of Gales. Yo, Josh, if you're still here, did you see that Rocket League cheating video I sent you? I thought that was pretty neat. It was very amusing to me that, like, the person tried to cover their tracks later, and it was just so awful. I guess for anybody else who might be watching, apparently there was a minor Rocket League cheating scandal recently, and I think, oh, what's his name? Is it Jacob Rocket League. That's not his name. The cheating freestyler. There we go. There's been a bunch of little things away that people were cheating. I'm surprised this person is not even letting me do it. But the short version is that they were cheating by editing replays. They would, and then that combined with like really interesting camera work was how they pulled it off. But the thing about it that was like kind of funny slash dumb is that I should have kept that first hand, but whatever. The thing about it that was funny slash dumb was that, to me, part of the reason they were able to get away with it is because they would like spin the camera around and hit things from like behind their head. But what would happen is that then later people are like, yo, can you send me the replay files? And they're like, sure. And the Rocket League ball is just being like, and just like turning in midair. It's just a whole bunch of really suspicious, dumb stuff. I don't know. I I think my opponent might be AFK. I don't know. I do get why people would cheat in games, but I feel like if you're gonna cheat at something like that, right? Like you could just say, "Hey, this is done with a task," right? People would still be like, "Oh man, this looks sick," right? Just say this is a task or this is like edited replay or something. I get cheating at games where there's no room slash scene slash space for that. All right, that doesn't count. We're gonna do one more game with this list. But I don't get cheating in I don't get cheating in games where you can just be like, "Yep, this is a task," right? And not an RTA, not a real-time attempt. That doesn't make much sense to me. I want one more game with the terrible Rusko lists so that I can show off what a good Rusko list looks like comparatively. On the flip side, if you want a deck that just wins really, really quickly a lot, oh, I feel bad. I feel bad about this. Okay, second thing I want to call out here real quick. If you don't know, recently the basic land type wastes was added to the game. They would be really good in decks like this for Ulamog. Except wastes weren't programmed like 100% correctly, and so they're currently completely broken. They just don't function. And that means that this Ulamog deck is missing a really useful card that would make this matchup a lot more fair if it had it. And because of that, I still played that wrong. I should have played a second island for the counterspell to prevent their ramp. In either case, there is a bug for this open. It's got a fair amount of traction. The most viewed video on my channel got 3,000 views in 2 days because of it. So I feel like I've done my part to bring some attention to wastes. But the bug is still not fixed, and until that bug is fixed, colorless decks, which are frankly already pretty shit, I'm going to do this. Now you're going, why am I spending a counterspell on Urza's Battlethopter? The answer is because it gives all their colorless spells flash, which would give them one of the very few ways to delay taking actions against me, because colorless has virtually it has no instance, and I believe it has one sorcery in this format. So I have no interest in letting them have any sort of momentum off that. I wonder if I can Mirror Hall Mimic. No, it would just kill itself immediately, right? It would, but then I could just disturb it out and get a Rusko at the start of each turn. That'd be kind of funny. Also, I've done the classic thing that I always do, which is forget that Blood on the Snow should probably be a actual card. Let's do this. Rusko. Keep that version of Rusko. Trigger goes off. Kaya's ghost form. Get another Midnight Clock. Hit for 3. But yeah, the wastes are still not fixed, which is all honestly. So speaking from personal experience for a moment here, honestly, that's not too unrealistic. It's kind of dumb that wastes got to production broken, but the fact that they're not fixed after they got to production broken, we just came out of Christmas and the New Year, and that usually means code freezes and nobody wants to make any big changes. So it kind of makes sense to me that they weren't like, well, let's fix this one card in this one format as fast as feasibly possible. I'm not gonna be grumpy at them for that. That's just being a little petty for my taste. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just gonna go grab some more cards. How close are they to Ulamog? 4, 5, 6, 7. They're not there yet. They're getting much closer though. They need 10, so they need 3. Ulamog can't be countered, but his... Oh, you know what? Ulamog can be countered, but more importantly, I can use Etri to counter his activated ability when he gets played. And that's much more valuable. So we're just going to do that. And then we will play the Helm of the... Okay, that's really bad, though. If he somehow puts the Helm onto Ulamog, then I am... Yeah, no, then I'm very much hosed. Give me 1 second. So Etri is going to be a 7-drop. Do I care about countering Etri, or do I care about countering that ability? I care about countering... I care about countering the ability, because even if they play Ulamog, I counter the ability. Next turn with Etri, yep. I will use Gadwick to tap down Ulamog, and I'll have lethal. So this should work out. Yep. You're gonna give me control here, because I get to do things about that. And the thing I'm going to do is... I guess I'll tap that. It doesn't make much of a difference. Etri will ETB. Counter target activated ability. Counter the 2-target exile. Ulamog resolves. That resolves. I can just do this, actually. Callum is interesting. He's one of those cards that I really want to like, but I don't actually like as much as I can, and that's lethal. Good game. All right. So that's my casual, pretty awful Rusko list. Let's take a look at a comp list. Now, this has switched a little bit, even from when I blatantly stole it and made some tweaks. So I want to do 2 things first. I want to look at the list really quickly. I want to call out the 2 tweaks I made, because some people are going to disagree with them, and I think that's fair. But I still want to explain why I made them real quick. So this is the comp list. As you might see, it's a billion pieces of small draw, a billion counter spells, removal, all of the good value board wipes as well to help stabilize, Paradox Engine, Time Warp, Brawl's Expertise, a lot of extra turn cards. I did not tweak any of those. What I did tweak was I added... Not you. I added Spire of Industry, and I added Plaza of Heroes. I know some people are going to disagree with that. I think that's fair. I added Spire of Industry because we already have 12 artifacts in this list, and a lot of them are very cheap. And the issue I was primarily having with this list was hitting the right colors of mana to get into play. So I know some people are still going to dislike that, but given that we already have a bunch of pain lands, I don't think that running any more is going to be much of an issue. Second one was Plaza of Heroes. Same reason. It's there to let us play extra cards and actually be able to get Rusko out on turn 4. Again, you're welcome to disagree with both of those changes, but those are the changes that I made. I like them personally, but I also understand why people would not like them very much. Anyway, let's switch over to this comp list and play this a bit. So this is Comp Rusko. Comp Rusko plays very differently. Normal Rusko is just like, oh, Rusko's good and ramp and advantage. Comp Rusko is, we have 3 creatures. Our win condition is just running the opponent out of life. Oh, look, it's the Rusko v Rusko matchup. So we've got Mox Amber, we've got Fabled Passage, we've got Inquisition of Kozliak, and we've got Consider and Fabled Hand. I'm going to keep this. Fabled Passage is probably going to be turn 2. Because it's a Rusko matchup, we're going to do Inquisition and go see what their hand is. Essence Flux, Splinglet Reef, Drum, Teferi's Tutelage. This looks like it might be Mill Rusko. I want to slow them down. So probably the options are... I'm going to take Mind Stone, so they don't have as much ramp. I'm going to hold off on playing the Mox Amber. The reason is that Mox Amber is a non-creature spell, so it can count as a proc for Rusko, and it won't do anything until turn 5 anyway. So we'll play that. We'll play that, and turn. We're going to sack this and go get a island in just a moment so that we can do Consider, and then we'll have access to Supreme Will on turn 3. We don't know the rest of their hand, but I'm assuming it's nothing that's super exciting, hopefully. Let's go get an island. We also now have our copy of Essence Flux. We don't have to play anything, so we're not going to play anything for right now. We'll do Supreme Will if it looks like... Okay, now we're going to do Supreme Will. We're just going to go grab our land, hopefully. Yeah, we'll take an island. I'm not too worried about us getting milled. It's unfortunate if it happens, but again, we have Midnight Clock. It's not a big deal. We'll do that, and now we have Essence Flux and Consider. If we have to, we'll use Essence Flux. We don't have to. We can also do Mox Amber here, and so now that was a free cast. We now have 2 more mana, and we got an extra counter onto Midnight Clock. And that's what you're going to be wanting to be doing with a lot of these cheap artifacts. Could we have played it earlier? Yeah. I'm just going to let them mill me. We'll see if they're going to crack out Rusko here. They are. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to let them resolve. Then we're going to Infernal Grasp. They only have 1 mana. Oh, they can Essence. Okay, so I just misplayed because they can instantly Essence Flux off that. That was dumb of me. They get 2 clocks. Yeah, that was dumb. I misplayed. So, yeah, I've been playing this deck a fair amount, but that's not to say that I am perfect with it by any means, if that wasn't already obvious. Springleaf Drum is interesting. Do I think they have a protection spell? Let's see. I still want to get rid of Rusko. I want to force them to replay it. So the downside is that they can replay Rusko right here. And then just, you know. I think this is a mill-based list. Based on what I'm seeing. Revel in Riches is interesting. I would not have included that. My assumption is their plan is to just try to get the clock to trigger and then to mill me out. Let's do Consider first. Graveyard. I don't really want that island. Go for the Throat is more useful. I might do Essence Flux. Maybe I should have done Essence Flux in response there. I just don't really love having to play Essence Flux before. Okay, now I can definitely do Essence Flux. If they committed all the mana, we're doing it now. So the other one thing that's like not really a downside is if you do have your clocks get stacked up super close together, it can be a little spicy. But I don't think they're too concerned about that. They still have quite a fair number of counters on it. We're just going to keep trying to punch them down. Pass the board. get some more midnight clocks. And so now we can, at any point, trigger off our midnight clock with Go for the Throat. And the interesting thing about that is that it means that all the hard work that they have put into milling our hand is going to effectively be moot. Now, I would really like, that's good. That's almost what we want. This is not quite good enough to go like infinite. What can I do here? Sorry, I need 1 second to actually think for a moment. They are going to put, so right now they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. They put 1 more counter onto Midnight Clock. They have enough to start it, but I don't think it's enough to start an infinite combo. I don't quite have enough to do anything infinite. I could do... I'm probably misplaying this a little bit. I want to try to set this up anyway. I don't think I'm doing this right, but I'm going to go for it because I think they're still kind of farish away from where they need to be. Next to combat. They'll sink all the mana into Midnight Clock, but they don't have... When they do, they'll mill me for 14, but I'm not, like, super concerned about that. They're at 8. There's Cut Down and Baleful Mastery gone for the moment. Okay. Do I care enough to... Yes, I do, actually. I very much do. And I just missed my window to do the smart thing that I should have done, but whatever. I wonder if Unwinding Clock does have a role in this deck. They have a lot of mana. But without spending a bunch of it. So first, let's go to combat. I want you to be forced to have to refill your entire hand if you're going to do it. You'll spend 3. You'll have 2 mana to counter Alrunes with. Let's try it. And that's game. Okay. So I don't know why they did that, because they could have gone tapped 3, search for a counterspell, but maybe they don't even have negate in their deck. It might also be that they're only a mill version of the list, which is unfortunate for them. I think so. I made a couple misplays that game. I'm not 100% sure that I piloted correctly out of that really weird spot at the end. But I still won, so close enough. But I definitely misplayed with that essence. I wonder if Unwinding Clock has a spot in the deck. It probably doesn't, because it's a win more card. All right, we're up against Delina, Wild Mage. We've got Fatal Push, we've got Cold Steel Heart, we've got Silence Ruse. I'll keep. We'll just open with that. Hey there, Delina. What's it like in New York City? Cold Steel Heart will get more blue. And we're going to hope that they don't have hard removal for it. Have to see what their next drop is going to end up being. Oh, look, it's Robber the Rich. 1 second. It's thinky time. I'm just gonna do Rusko. That might bite me, but I hope it doesn't. Because we can always replay him, right? We can replay him very quickly if we need to. But if they have hard removal, yeah, okay, I think I made the right choice. Because I think we can just accelerate from here on out. We can protect and accelerate, as long as they don't have a 2-mana burn spell. And as we all know, Lightning Bolt definitely doesn't exist in this format. What are the odds that they have a Lightning Bolt in their hand? Okay, thank God it's not Lightning Bolt. Okay, I might actually have to use River's Rebuke. I don't want Foundry Beetle staying out for... Well, shit. That's a good pull. All right, let's do... Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. Do I do the River's Rebuke? The downside to the... I don't think I do. 1 second. I think I do... I think I do Celestis. I think I do Fatal Push. Get rid of the Foundry Beetle. And then I can chump block and then protect with Siren's Ruse. I think this is the right way to play this, given the actual deck matchup. Foundry Beetle's kind of cool, though. I haven't seen that one before. I like it. All right. Yep, that resolves. Pass to attackers. Siren's Ruse. Get back Rusko. Do I just let him die, actually? I could replay him and get another clock if I do. And it means they don't have a target. This was probably the wrong choice, but I think it's going to be funny, so I'm going to go for it. Yeah, let's try it. Now, if they don't kill Rusko this turn, I can Karns, and then I can probably chain a bunch of stuff together. That's the hope anyway. Midnight clicks up. That's Azushi. Yep, that's... Okay, so this... I made a mistake, and this game is now going to be decided by coin flips, which is to say by dice rolls. If they get really lucky here for some reason, then I might be about to get hosed. Okay. They got kind of lucky. They're going to have a million. So 1 second. It exiles. I'm just going to take the 14. These exile, they don't die, so they won't get 6 treasure tokens, but that would be pretty bad if they did. All right. Let's put one more counter here. And let's do... It's time to go Wombo-y, Combo-y. Every player takes an extra turn. Return it to 1 non-land permanent. That can go back to your hand. I will get a full hand of cards next turn, so there is no reason to not then just do River's Rebuke. I've got Time Warp next turn for another extra turn. So this is closer to how you're supposed to pilot this deck. Okay, and this is why nobody likes playing against it as well. Because you can just... I'd have gotten, let's see. I probably wouldn't have gone infinite, but I would have taken at least 2 more turns there. And who knows? It could have gotten kind of ugly. Let's do... We've been live for 45 minutes. Let's do 1 or 2 more games. That was honestly a good enough game to end on in most situations. I think it shows off. Yeah, because it's toxic. It really is. It really is pretty toxic. Yeah, so I'm assuming it will currently end up in Hell tier once the... I don't know what to call it. Once the test period is over. I'm not sure how well it did overall. It'll be interesting to see. Nerf wise, I'm very curious because since it's not a paper card, they can nerf it whenever they want. Hey, welcome to the stream. Since it's not a paper card, they can nerf it whenever they want, but since it is a... Ooh, so this is an argument that in some cases would be against Plaza of Heroes. I won't have a play until turn. I'm going to mulligan that. And I'll keep this. Tapped clock, no more drain. Yeah, there's a lot of levers they can pull. What's going to be interesting is if they choose to do so. Here's another interesting question. Do I greed play into this right here? And the answer is yes. And we have Fading Hope to protect Rusko if we have to next turn. But yeah, right now he's pretty awful. He's pretty scary. I don't want to tap out doing anything silly. So let's do... I need the blue sources right now because I want to have Fading Hope to protect Rusko if they play hard removal. All right, next the combat. Maybe I shouldn't do combat. Maybe I should just wait and do Thirst for Knowledge. Yeah, there's a lot of levers they can pull to tweak Rusko. What's going to be interesting for me is to see if they choose to do it, because I'm not sure that he is as completely, like, chipper shreddingly broken. 1, 2, 3. Did we get an artifact? Yes, I'll discard a Midnight Clock. I say. I can do Solve the Equation and grab Time Warp safely. Let's do that. Could also grab Paradox Engine. I like Time Warp more. I'll still have mana for my counter spells, so I'm going to go hit for 3. Yeah, there's a lot of levers they could pull to make Rusko less painful than he currently is. But because he's an alchemy-only card, I'm curious to see if that makes them more eager to nerf him or less eager. I also haven't followed if Rusko is absolutely chipper shredding other formats. I think the important thing to remember about the Niambi nerf is that in a lot of ways, the Niambi nerf was not because Niambi was a monster in Historic Brawl with an unfun infinite combo. It was because the Niambi deck was actually somewhat relevant. Just going to counter that real quick. Niambi was somewhat relevant in a lot of other formats as well and could always force a tie. Okay, there we go. And we'll take another win. So it'll be neat. It'll be neat to see how that all plays out. Should I do one more? Should I do one more Rusko list? Just demonstrate the absolutely massive clocks. We'll do one more. And then I'm probably not going to play this deck very much anymore, or at least I won't ever be playing it on stream. Yeah. That's why it's interesting to me, is that he's right on the edge. It's very hard. He's right on the edge. And so, okay, so here's a little fun story. My most recent project that I started a while ago, and then I haven't finished yet, was... I can go into more detail when this finishes, but basically, yeah, if you want a example of how much people like to play against Rusko, I'd say that was a pretty good clip. Okay, so my most recent project, which is like not it's Historic Brawl related, but it's its own little video. But the short version is that, basically, let's not do the short version. Let's do the long version. So I run my blog. I write about cards. I write about other games, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, it'd be fun to write about all the banned cards in Historic Brawl. So I found a list and did a little bit of a write-up and did some stuff. And I was like, then I ran it past my friend who basically serves as my editor. For a little bit of context on this person, this friend in question also plays a lot of Magic, doesn't play a lot of Historic Brawl, plays a lot of Commander. And they're, like, in their professional life, they're a game designer. And so they looked at my article and they're like, yeah, I don't think I agree with, like, your reasoning for, like, Specifically, I had grouped all cards that are banned in Historic Brawl into 4 categories. And they're like, I don't really agree with your grouping. And I'm like, well, fine. I'll go find some data, I'll go find some information, and I will prove that my grouping is correct. So then I decided I would go and find all the banned cards in Historic Brawl, and more importantly, find specific statements from Wizards of the Coast for every single banned card and why they were banned. So I set out to do that, and it took like 15 hours because we as a format don't actually have an official ban list anywhere. You have to just look it up in the client or look it up on Scryfall. And then if you want to find the actual statements where cards were banned, for a lot of them, it's not really there, or it's wrapped up in other things that were banned. And finally, Historic Brawl, like, this is a relatively new format, right? Brawl was around for a while. And so a lot of the bans in the format are basically like they're carryovers from other formats in certain situations. They're bans in Historic. That's not true for everything, though, because we get stuff like Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshares, Counterspell, and Historic doesn't get those cards. So anyway, I did all the research. I have this great big Excel document now. I have a big list of every single card that is banned in Historic Brawl, why it was banned, and the specific sources for it. But it turns out that my initial write-up actually was wrong. There's a lot of cards that I thought they were banned for being one thing, and they're banned for another, or the specific call-out wasn't there. The whole thing's really weird. But that should be... I need to finish up the work on that. I've done the script, I've done a bunch of other stuff, but I need to actually sit down and make the rest of the video. That'll be coming out... I'll work on it when I end the stream in about 30 seconds, actually, is what I'll do. That's a lie. I'll play Dota, then I'll work on it. But it's very interesting. But the short version is that, and why this is relevant to what you were saying, Historic Brawl doesn't really get individual bans yet. We get some sometimes. But it's hard to tell how much WotC cares about the format and how much they're paying attention to it. And we've had, like, of those 18 cards, only 3 were, like, no, even only 2-ish. 1 was specific to being banned in Historic Brawl. And so since it's hard to tell whether or not Wizards likes our format, it's hard to tell what they'll do when a card like Rusko comes along. Because Rusko is just straddling the edge. Is he toxic to play against? Yeah. Is he kind of slowing down the format? Yeah. Is he broken enough that he has to be banned? It's kind of hard to tell. And if he's not broken enough that he has to be banned because he is a digital-only card, is he enough of a problem that they're going to just nerf him? And if so, what level are they going to pull to nerf him? I don't know yet. But having done the research for that project, I would almost lean towards they're less likely to change him. But I could be wrong. In either case, I probably should go work on that project. So that's going to be the stream for today. As always, if you like my stuff, please subscribe. I stream twice a week. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be some pinball because I like pinball, honestly, is the whole reason. And then on Friday, we'll have some more Historic Brawl. But yeah, if you like my stuff, please subscribe. You got thoughts, comments, feedback, please let me know. I'm always working to improve on this. And I also really appreciate it when people stop by and watch. So thank you very much. Till next time, take care, and I'll see you then.